Hello and welcome back to America's Forum here on Newsmax TV. Back with us for another segment, retired Lieutenant Colonel Alan West, former Congressman, also Dick Morris, political analyst. We were talking about the global unrest in the Ukraine. We also want to focus our attention on Venezuela, a lot to talk to. Now, Dick, I know you have a lot of experience dealing with politics in Venezuela. Talk to us about this leader, Leopoldo Lopez, and what his fate is right now that he's turned himself over to police.
Well, disclaimer, he's a client of mine. He's a very young, active guy in his mid-late 30s, looks like a kid, and has survived several assassination attempts. And now he's been arrested on phony charges. They're saying that he incited the demonstrations. The cops killed some people, so they're indicting him for murder. The important thing to understand about Venezuela is that it is the hub of anti-American sentiment in Latin America that right now controls Nicaragua, El Salvador, the Dominican Republic, Ecuador, Bolivia, and has a strong influence over Brazil and Argentina. And it's really the epicenter of anti-American feeling. And when Chavez died, this guy Maduro stepped into the vacuum. But his economic policies are ludicrous. Like a year ago, they put price controls on milk. And the result was everybody made cheese. So you couldn't buy baby formula, but could you buy brie?
Well, Alan,
but now there's a real effort to get rid of him. This is terribly important, and if we succeed, it will free most of Latin America.
Now, that's the best case scenario. Worst case scenario, the only thing maybe worse than a strong dictator is a weak dictator like Maduro, and we know that there has been advances of groups like Hezbollah from the Middle East into Venezuela. We heard Dick talk about this being the cradle of anti-American sentiment on this hemisphere. What are your concerns about this becoming, a training ground for more terrorists?
Well, it has already happened as far as the relationship between Venezuela and Iran. And when you have these unstable situations, you will always find that radical Islamic terrorists will somehow find their way to come in and get a stronger foothold. And the last thing we need are Iranian Revolutionary Guards or Al-Quds or Hezbollah elements that are supporting the Venezuelan government against the people there. And you're right, Dick, is that this can metastasize all across Latin America, South America, Central America. And don't forget, we have a very, very big Venezuelan community right here in South Florida, down in Broward County in Western Florida. So they're going to feel the effects of this as well.
Bear in mind that the 1.3 million barrels a day that Venezuela pumps of oil, largely sells to the U.S., funds all of these anti-American regimes. The other thing is they recently set up a daily flight, or 3 times a week, from Caracas to Tehran and back. It never carries any passengers. Nobody ever flies that route, but it's bulging with cargo, and people suspect that that's arms coming from Iran to the Venezuela.
An incredibly scary situation when you look at it and all the ripple effects that could come. We'll keep our eye on the situation in Venezuela, and you can stay up to date on the coverage on Newsmax.com as well. We want to move on now to the minimum wage battle. Here's a reminder from our president about why this issue is so important.
And as the chief executive, I intend to lead by example. Profitable corporations like Costco see higher wages as the smart way to boost productivity and reduce turnover. We should too. In the coming weeks, I will issue an executive order requiring federal contractors to pay their federally funded employees a fair wage of at least $10.10 an hour.
Look at Biden smiling there. It depends how you define leading by example. The White House has done what it said it was going to do. They remain on the defensive after a devastating blow to Obama's proposed wage hike. A report out of the Congressional Budget Office says that raising the minimum wage would jettison about 500,000 people out of the workforce. The White House was quick to jump to the wage hike's defense.
I would point them to the ample documentation from respected economists who say the opposite, that there is not evidence that it has a significant impact on jobs, and that to the contrary, it's beneficial to the economy and to efficiency and productivity.
I don't even know what to make of
that.
The
GOP. Is he on? You increase the wage by 50% and it doesn't affect the number of workers?
Of course it does. I mean, that's what the free market is going to do. That's what the private sector
That's right, guys. The GOP isn't buying this, of course. Speaker Boehner's office was quick to jump in on the nonpartisan report. They say it confirms what we've known all along, that mandating these higher wages comes with real costs, including fewer working people. Despite this, Democrats still are going to make this wage hike a key talking point in their midterm election argument. Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid is poised to bring the minimum wage bill to the floor in just the next few weeks. Well, guys, we heard from Carney there. It's getting harder and harder to even listen to his explanation of these types of things. Yeah. We could be talking, though, guys, about the supposed 900 people that this would bring out of poverty, but we're not. We're talking about the jobs, and that's because most people care about this.
Yeah, but there's an important point. There was a study just recently that concluded that only 11% of the minimum wage workers lived in poverty. 89% did not. The median income was around 50 or 60,000. The deal is that mom and pop work, or mom works and pop isn't there, and the kid gets a minimum wage job at Costco or at the supermarket.
Right.
So it's the second or third or fourth income. So while it's welcome, it has nothing to do with giving them out of poverty. And out of 15.5 million workers who are going to be affected by this raise, CBO says up to 1 million of them could lose their jobs. Yep. Thanks a lot.
Now, Dick, you said that this is part of Obama's plan to get more people out of the workforce and onto the government dole. The government dole. Yeah. Alan, what do you think about that?
No, he's absolutely right. But the thing that, once again, in aggregate, the tax policies, what they're doing to crush, small business owners, the regulatory policies, what's it doing to crush. And now you're going to try to force them to raise, their wages. Well, guess what? They're going to have to lay people off. They're going to have to put people on part-time, unless the message coming from this White House is that we don't believe in people being in business to try to make a profit. You're in business to do what? And furthermore, when I was a kid growing up in the inner city of Atlanta, Georgia, I knew come summertime I could go get that minimum wage job. Burger King, McDonald's, you name it. Now look at the unemployment rate in the black community for teenagers, 40%.
And so, Alan,
we're forcing them out of this market.
And doesn't it make you just want to pull your hair out, though, when you hear Al Sharpton saying
didn't have a whole lot?
Yeah.
He's still got the high and tight haircut, sticking with that. Now it's come back in fashion, and no small
crew cut.
No thanks to you. I'm sure you had a lot to do with that. But when you hear Al Sharpton say, "Look, it's not really the president, it's Congress. They're the ones to blame here." When he's out there, and I can't remember the other gentleman who was with him there for that meeting yesterday.
Oh, Mark Morial of the National Urban League.
How can they gloss over the unemployment rates for black Americans?
Because they are not concerned with the black community. They are concerned with a liberal, progressive, socialist agenda. They are concerned with carrying the water for the Democrat Party. They will say, they will do anything. They will sell out their own community. It is amazing to me that black conservatives get called sellouts, but someone like an Al Sharpton, who is really the sellout, does not have to carry that mantra. They have just said basically to the black community that this president can do anything that he wants. The out-of-wedlock births, 72%. Teenage unemployment,
yeah, the statistics
40%.
Are not good.
Horrible.
Guys, we have much more to talk about here. We three amigos are going to talk about the Three Amigos trip going on in Mexico today.
Do we have to get a big sombrero?
Well, if we can find one, we'll get one. Maybe. I hope. Maybe some tequila, too. It's getting
No, that's for you, man.
Okay. All right, we'll talk about that and more when we come up. We want to hear from you, of course. What do you think about President Obama and the way he's handling these global situations in the Ukraine and also in Venezuela? We've been completely let down by our president. What do you think about Joe Biden being the guy tapped to try and solve the situation? We'll have a lot more when we return. We'll also take a look at the president's trip to Mexico and why this Three Amigos meeting might not be so friendly this year.